Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Get the like button hit right now. Make sure you are subscribing. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching around the world. Lots to talk about today. Lots to go through today. Some big transfer stories. The Premier League fixtures have been released. We're going to be talking about them a lot on Straight Facts this afternoon with Hassam and Mo as well. I'm here in London in the studio because I've got a few exciting things going on today. And going into next season, we're going to be here a lot more. But we need your support. We need those like buttons to be smashed. We need you subscribing. And, of course, get the bell notification button turned on when it comes to the subscriptions as well. We're talking Sesko to Arsenal. We're talking Rodrygo. We're looking at the potential exit of Jadon Sancho from Manchester United and much more. Listen, people, hit the like button. Make sure. Oh, actually, am I on the wrong thing here? Am I on the wrong brand? I am. I'm in the wrong. I mean, I'm not going to change it over now. It doesn't matter. I was about to play a different intro, and I can't because it isn't in this section. So we will stay live. But loads to go through, loads to talk about. We want to obviously get your views and your opinions on it as well. Let me just update the title here because whilst I was going to play that next intro, I was going to update something. Let me just update that. It's awkward to type in here because I haven't got my keyboard directly in front of me. That's maybe something I should invest in, actually. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, maybe I should get like a, I've got to update the thumbnail as well. It's all done. I've updated that now. So everyone new that clicks on it will see it. I should invest on, I've got the laptop here, maybe getting a keyboard that can go in front of me. Maybe that's what I need. But good morning to each and every one of you. I look different. And do you know what it is? I don't look different. The cameras in here are much better than the camera I have at home. So it shows all the red pigmentation in my skin. I probably need makeup. But I'm absolutely fine, I promise you. Or I need I'm here by myself. I probably need someone to change some settings on the camera. That's all it probably needs. But I'm all right, my friend. I promise you I am okay. Morning to Mama Flossie. I hope that you are good and you are well. Good morning, DJ, one of our members here. I appreciate you tuning in as well. Thank you very, very much indeed. And to everybody that subscribed to my personal channel yesterday, over 1,500 new subscribers in a day. Amazing. You want to go check out the latest content, you just go click. I'm getting the cameras right. That QR code there, that takes you to the channel. We've got another big video dropping today. We've got some City content. We've got some Liverpool content. And it's just essentially, there's not enough time in the day or spaces on the Football Terrace to put out all my opinions. And I want to make more content for you. So that will be done on Terry Flewers TV. So go and get subscribed to that. But I wanted to start today with the news in relation to Arsenal. And this came out this morning from Sportblind via Sports Witness that Arsenal have reached an agreement with Benjamin Sesko on personal terms. Arsenal have signaled that they will make an offer for the player in the coming days in line with Leipzig's expectation, which could be around 80 to 100 million euros. That is the claim that is being made. That is what they have said. And Blind have also stated that poker is now being played for the price of the player. And what's really interesting, the German press really do believe, they really are pushing, they are heavily invested in the narrative that Benjamin Sesko is the number one target, is the main focus of Arsenal Football Club in relation to their striker target. So for me, look, the Portuguese press are saying something different. You've got the Ben Jacobs of this world. You have the Fabrizios of this world that are far more in the middle. And I get why they're there. This could go in either direction. But what's very interesting to watch and see in relation to this is the way it's going to go. But the German press this morning say that a agreement has been made on personal terms with Benjamin Sesko. Slightly contrary to that is what Plassenberg said about 15 hours ago, where he said that Arsenal are not currently willing to pay the 80 to 100 million demanded by Leipzig for Sesko. There have been no official offers from Arsenal yet. And again, remember the very, very important piece of information there. No official offers yet, which means at the very least, the journalist has been told offers of some sort have been made, have been placed, have been put in. So how this pans out, look, it's anybody's guess right now how this pans out, because Arsenal are clearly working on both deals. And as I stated yesterday on my own channel, that I want to make sure I say this in the right way. I think Arsenal are doing the absolute right thing with negotiating these two deals at the same time. I actually think it's something you're going to see more Premier League clubs start to do moving forward. Either one, until they made their minds up, or two, get the best deal possible, especially if you think both players are good enough, especially if you feel that both players are going to have a massive impact on moving you forward. It makes a hell of a lot of sense. It goes on to say that Arsenal and the players' camp remain in contact, but personal terms, he said, are not fully agreed yet. And again, when he says not fully agreed, I'd love to question Plattenberg on here. But what do you mean by that? Do you mean signed? Do you mean legal documentation? It was only a year ago that he agreed to join Arsenal and stated Arsenal was the place for him. So there's a lot to unpack there. It says, it does say here, though, Plattenberg, that Arsenal are still monitoring Victor Gyokeres. It will be crucial to see whether he can move from verbally agreeing 60 to 70 million, or if Sporting will demand more. So his view, his take as a journalist on this is that there is still some dialogue, there is still some view that the price for Gyokeres is going to be pushed up by Sporting Lisbon, which again will slow this process down. I know Arsenal are getting a lot of the blame from their fans for this deal not progressing. But at the same time, there is this element of, if Gyokeres has been told he can leave for 60 plus 70, and they've got written evidence, Arsenal would be stupid to pay 70 or 80 plus an add-on fee, especially if no other club is officially bid. Leipzig trying to get close to 100 million euros for Sesko, a player that was quoted to be available for around 70 million euros for the better part of a year by the German press. Arsenal right to try and negotiate it down. I know that Arsenal fans want the players done. I get it, but there is still room. Pre-season is still a month away. The beginning of the Premier League season is around 2 months away. There isn't a dire need to have the deal over the line in this particular instance, although I understand why people want it done. I understand why people want there to be, more speed in these deals. I do totally 110% get it. I really, really do. Have you liked and shared? Of course, you got to get it done, people. Get that done right now. Get liking, get sharing this content. Get that out there across your social media platforms. Let's go to some of your comments that have come in here. Havertz attacking mid with Odegaard, then get both Sesko and Gyokeres. I still don't see how that works. That means you're dropping Declan Rice. What it means is, if you're going to play both, a midfielder's got to be dropped, because you're not going to go to wing backs. It means a midfielder's got to be dropped. Kai Havertz can't play if you buy both. And it's either Odegaard or Rice that gets dropped. That's not going to work. So do we think Arsenal will sign Zubi, Sesko, and a winger, maybe a defender, and that will be them done? Potentially. And I look at it, it all depends on the plan. I know they want more creativity in midfield, a lot of Arsenal fans. I get that. I understand it. I think the plans and the view on how they're going to use Ethan Nwaneri next season is going to be very, very critical and very key to these conversations, because I want to say this I want to try and say this in the right and in the correct way. A lot of Arsenal fans have said on our shows, that he's more of an attacking midfield player. So maybe he's going to get a lot more game time next year and be that backup to Odegaard, be played more, get more exposure. Therefore, you may not want to go out and drop 70, 80 million pounds on a player in that position. Declan Rice also wants to be an 8. He doesn't want to be a DM. Zubimendi coming in is going to sit deeper, control that midfield. I think that they need a winger. For me, the winger would be the most worrying area for me if I was an Arsenal fan. I've said this many, many a time, Ian, because Sane was a link and he's gone. Neto is a link and he appears to be going to Barcelona as things stand. Bayern Munich are ahead of Arsenal in that race. Rodrygo, we're going to move on to him in a moment. And we can move on to him now, really. We know he's a major target. This is being reiterated again by Ben Jacobs, who says that Arsenal hold a genuine interest in Rodrygo and have held exploratory talks on the player's side dating back to May. It does state, though, that Real Madrid want around 90 million euros. And if I'm being honest with you, just as a United fan, as a rival, looking from the outside in, from my point of view and perspective, he's well worth the 90 million. I would pay that for him in a heartbeat if he was linked to my football club. I would make that happen as best I can. I would be pushing for that on a daily basis because for me, I think he is a potential game changer for Arsenal Football Club in such a big and fundamental way. So I think it's something they should be aiming for and pushing for. And seemingly, as you can see, he is a big target for them. He's a really, really big target for them. And that isn't going away. What hasn't happened with the Rodrygo deal? We've seen them meet some of the press in Spain say, no, he's going to stay. Madrid have got no appetite to sell him. And of course, this could very well be true. But what we haven't seen yet are any of the tier ones. So we've seen David Ornstein mention Rodrygo, state it's difficult, but not stated that it's impossible or it isn't going to happen. Or generally when a club can't get a player, you hear the so-and-so have called their interest in somebody. You haven't heard that around him. But the winger position would be the one I'd be most worried about if I was an Arsenal fan, simply because the market is slightly drying up. And I think that's really key. The market is slightly drying up with players leaving, and they don't want to be caught standing on ceremony. That being said, you could argue if they speed up the process around the striker, they can move on. But speeding up that process right now might entail spending 20 to 30 million pound more on a striker than they believe they're worth. And I don't believe it's sensible to pay that far over the odds for a player, no matter how much you want them, because it sets a really bad precedent for future negotiations. So they've got to get that right, in my personal opinion. Let's have a little look here. Terry, if Arsenal gets Sesko, then are United back in for Gyokeres? United have never stopped looking at Gyokeres. Gyokeres is still a big target for us. I love the fact that we're not pandering to the sensitivity and to the almost immature nature of a percentage of the Man United fan base. I don't want him. I don't want sloppy seconds. I think this is a crazy notion, because most of us at some point in our professional lives go through a kind of a sloppy second scenario. There's a job available. Oh, I'd love that job. It's a dream job. Why is it available? The previous person left. Well, that means you're not the number one choice, are you? They prefer that person stayed. Are you going to accept the job if you find that out? Would you hand your resignation in if it turned out they were so gutted the previous person left, even though they're happy to have you? No, because it's the professional environment. And we do this so often as football fans, is we think about it from the fan perspective without looking at it from the professional side. So I have absolutely no problem with us going back in for Victor Gyokeres. He's a fantastic player. He improves Manchester United. He makes us a better team. And that should be our only focus, is becoming a much better, a much stronger football team. And if we do that, we're on to a winner. It's as simple and as straightforward as that for me. Didn't know that. So are Arsenal going to buy for their left winger? Well, I mean, I don't know who you're going to buy. I mean, in terms of the links are out there to your targets, and the targets that we've read for Arsenal, the credible targets are Rodrygo, Williams, Sane was linked. There have been confirmations from Fabrizio around Garnacho being a target for Arsenal, which is a real interesting one to see how that one plays out. Rashford's name has been mooted, but there hasn't been anything new on Rashford for a long time. So those are the individuals that are out there. So they do have a target list, but the point is, let's just say they leave it another 3 weeks and then Rodrygo gets game time at the World Club Cup, loves playing under Alonso and says, I'm staying. Then suddenly the market is reduced to the... I'm only going by the targets that have been publicized. You can take Gittins off that list because he's fully committed himself to Chelsea. The only other player left on the list that's been credibly mentioned is Alejandro Garnacho. And for me, I like Garnacho. I think he'll be a hit at Arsenal in that type of team. But when you're aiming for Williams and you're aiming for Rodrygo and you may be aiming for Gittins, actually, I actually think Garnacho's ahead of Gittins, but maybe you don't want Garnacho to end up being that guy. And I think you've really got to weigh that up. Let's have a look here. Someone here says, I've learned that it's not true that Sesko has reached an agreement on terms with Arsenal on personal terms. There has been no progress in the talks in recent days. I don't know who D-Talk in Arsenal is, but thank you for sharing that. I'll go take a look at his page. And again, there'll be contrarian reports on this. You're allowed your opinions on it, though. And that's the point of a fan channel, for you to share what you think. If you don't think it's been done, if you think it isn't, that the news isn't true, then that's an absolutely fair point to make. If we sign Gyokeres, he's scoring against Arsenal on the first game. It's on the football gods. Look, the opening, we're going to get onto them a little later in the show, but those opening fixtures are an absolute joke. I've said for weeks, right, that it would either be Man United or Arsenal playing on the opening Friday night game. And they seem to do it almost every year so they can create a narrative against those teams. It gets the viewing figures up. Oh, imagine Arsenal lose. Oh, imagine Man United lose. This year, they've gone one step up. They're making us play each other. There's no confirmation of when the game is. I also wouldn't be surprised if it's the Friday night. You would imagine it would be the Premier game, 4:30 on the Sunday. You would imagine that would be the case. But it wouldn't shock me if they moved it to a Friday night of all times. Just because you get that done on a Friday night, it's a guarantee. Opening game of the Premier League season, there's a guarantee for a narrative. They either draw, so you can slag them both off, or there's a winner and a loser, and you attack the loser. It's win-win for the Premier League every single step of the way. I don't trust it. I don't believe it. I think it's almost it feels almost obvious to me that it's a fix. Those opening fixtures, in my personal opinion, feel like a goddamn fix. I almost can't get that out my system of how much of a fix that feels like. It really, really does feel like a fix to me. We have another super chat here that says maybe a swap for Martinelli and Rodrygo. I mean, maybe. I mean, I'm sure Martinelli would like to play for Real Madrid. I don't know how much they would want Martinelli, maybe as a backup. But I do think there could be a world where, has Trossard signed a new deal yet? I don't know. There could be a world where Martinelli has to go, partly to balance the books, but also I think he might be a little bit disgruntled in a professional way if a Rodrygo comes in, and it might be a case of saying, well, we're happy with the backups we've got. Let's move this player on. But I would expect, I don't think Arsenal have the financial need to do that. I would expect Arsenal to keep Martinelli for at least a year to say, well, fight for your place. Because if he has got that fight, that desire, that hunger to say, I don't care if it's Rodrygo, it's my fellow countryman, great, but I'm going to show you what I'm all about. That can only be good for Arsenal, in my opinion. We should be going to Barcola and offering him a massive contract. He ain't getting minutes at PSG, and Martinelli can finish off games, get Hato as well. Sean, I understand why you would want Barcola. Fantastic talent. It's been well documented that, well, at least in the articles that I've read in The Athletic, I've read 2 or 3 now that state that like PSG have just got no desire to let him go. You could, based on what you've said, force him out. You could put a lot of pressure upon the player and in turn Barcola, and offer, as you say, offer a massive personal term, make him a deal where he just wants to leave, and maybe he could push and move away. But it's also well documented, Sean, that Barcola wants to stay and fight for his place. So there'll be contrary reports to that, of course, but I've read a number that he wants to stay, wants to fight for his place, isn't ready to leave yet. I feel like Barcola is almost one of those players, almost one of those signings that I don't think it'll be this year for a club. I think he'll give himself one more year at PSG. They're currently at the Club World Cup. They're going to be going to the whatever that, they've got the Super Cup to come. They're going to be probably be the favourites for the Champions League when the season kicks off. They've got the world. Is the world, because of the Club World Cup, I assume the world, that, what do you call it? The old Club World Cup in the December is off now. So they've probably not got that. I assume that's been cancelled for this one. It must be. So there's all that going on, but I would expect him to stay for one more year. Personally, I get why you would want him, but just my personal feeling is I think he'll stay for at least one more year. Just a gut feeling on that one there. I think he will stay for at least one more year. Let's have a little look here at some more of your comments that are coming through. Oh, it's been confirmed for 4:30 the game. Oh, Liverpool. Oh, okay, Liverpool Bournemouth is the Friday game. Fair. It's been confirmed. I didn't see that had been confirmed, to be honest, but that's a decent opening fixture. A nice, easy win for Liverpool. Sesko will be perfect for Arsenal, but do they really need a winger? I understand Martinelli is still there. Alonso talks highly of Rodrygo. He wants to stay at Real Madrid. This is the thing, H. I spoke earlier about Man United, some Man United fans being really immature and not wanting this sloppy seconds thing, or thinking about it. There are a lot of the Man United fans that think about it like they're trying to date a woman. That's what's in their head. Maybe they've been sloppy seconds and it kind of impacts their lives. I think there's this element, though, of fans who just view football deals, football situations like fans, and forget that the players are professional and not particularly fans of the clubs they're at. There are examples where fans play for the club they grew up supporting. Sorry, where players play for the club they grew up supporting. But if you look at this situation, there's nothing wrong with him wanting Real Madrid and then ending up at Arsenal. Of course, he wants to stay at Real Madrid. They're seen by the majority of the footballing world as the pinnacle of club football. But it doesn't mean he won't leave. If he doesn't feel that he's going to get the right position, if he isn't going to have the right role in the setup, if he doesn't feel that he's valued enough, if he can see an opportunity elsewhere to maybe be the star or to be in a better status within the team, there's always the chance. And I think that doesn't mean that he wants to leave Real Madrid because he dislikes Real Madrid, but it can become a professional decision. And I think that we lose that sometimes as football fans in these conversations. Well, if he doesn't want to leave today for us, I don't want him. Well, that's because you're living sort of vicariously through the player and acting like the player needs to have your desire. You get a lot of parents do this. I want my son to become a pro footballer. Maybe the kid's really good. He's 12, 13, but he wants to play rugby. Or actually, he wants to go and do art. Wants to go sit in a field and draw landscapes. And you get that dad or that mum that's living vicariously through their kid, and they don't understand why their son doesn't love football, how they loved it as a kid. And oh my God, they're so much more talented than me. If I had this chance to play for this academy, I wouldn't want to sit in a field painting a tree. I can't believe my son's doing this to me. We do that as fans to players. We live vicariously through them, which I understand. We do the whole we thing, which I understand. I do it as well. But then we very rarely learn to develop deeper critical thinking around these transfers and go, hang on, I get why I would want to stay. I get it. For instance, as well, do you actually think the Fabregases and the Bakary Sanyas and the Sami Nasris and the Van Persies and all those other players that left Arsenal, do you actually think they really wanted to leave Arsenal? Do you really think in their heart, in their core, they joined, they were part of a really good group? You could tell they loved playing for the club. They respected Arsene Wenger. Do you think they really wanted to leave? Or do you feel that professionally they were forced to? Now, fans go, turncoats, rats, they should have stayed. But unlike you as an Arsenal fan, say you're 20 years old, God willing, you've got another 60, 70 years on planet Earth to watch Arsenal. And typically speaking, if you look over the history of Arsenal Football Club, if you look at Man United, you look at Liverpool, you're going to have some really good times, some bad times, but really good times in that. No footballer has that amount of time. They have 10 to 15 years. On occasion, they might get a 20-year career. If you're Maldini, if you're Ryan Giggs, if you're Cristiano Ronaldo. But they have around 10 or so years at the peak of their powers. And if you're suddenly 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years in, I want to win some trophies. I want to win the honors. I want to play in the biggest tournaments, play in the biggest games. And I'm watching the parade go by. If Arsenal regress this season into 6th, following season they're 7th. Saka wouldn't want to leave because he dislikes Arsenal. He would want to leave for his professional career. That is fundamental. But if you were to say to him, if Arsenal were in title races and win leagues, would you leave? He'd probably say no. Therefore, if he was to leave and join X club, I won't name it because it will trigger people. He's only joining them because Arsenal are not delivering what he wants. He's not joining because, I desperately want to be at that football club. That's still a sloppy seconds situation. But it's based on professionalism, not emotion. Let's have a look at a few more of your super chats here. Thank you very much. I appreciate you getting where I'm coming from. Football fans are allowed to be irrational. Sports are a grand distraction after all. Listen, you're allowed to do whatever you want. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just not going to sit here and agree with all your views when you're being emotional, when you're being irrational. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, though. There's a fundamental difference. Like understanding why somebody's doing something and agreeing with what they're doing are completely different scenarios. Completely different. I don't always agree with it, but I understand it. And I do get it. Terry, do you think we have a free shot at Gyokeres now? No, I don't. The report is that personal terms are agreed with Sesko. Let's say the report today is true. Let's live in a world where it's true for a moment. It still states that they are not at an agreement with Leipzig. Arsenal may never get to an agreement with Leipzig, and they turn back to Gyokeres. So United don't have a free run at Gyokeres until the reports state that Arsenal have walked away or Arsenal have signed Sesko and the player agrees to join United. Then I would say we've got pretty much a clear run, unless another massive club comes in. So no, not at this point. I wouldn't say that at all. Hi, Terry. I really liked your content yesterday regarding Arsenal being clever in the market, but as a neutral, what or who do you think we really need to make sure we compete against our rivals? You need Sesko or Gyokeres. I think either of those two put you up a level. I think you need to improve that left wing. I think it's so important you bring someone in that can score more goals, can be more consistent and push him. I think Zubimendi is a fantastic piece of business for the middle. You may now need an additional player with Partey looking like he's going to leave. And I think I think Ethan Nwaneri needs to be used more next season, either to cover Odegaard or Saka. I think you should also look at cover for Saka. I think you need to look. He tried to do it with Mbeumo, but he wasn't willing to play. He sort of turned down the offer to play kind of second fiddle as things stand. But I think looking for a player in that ilk would be really, really, really important for your sort of development moving forward. I really do think so. So I think there's a few positions that need to be improved at Arsenal. I really, really do. I think there's a few positions that need to be improved on moving forward. No personal terms have been agreed yet. Some people are saying that. Again, we're reporting on the news story that says they have. But yes, there we go. But then Andrew, look at this is what I love about comments. The comment for says personal terms were agreed a month ago. This isn't new news. Some saying it hasn't even been done. Love it. Personal terms agreed is a non-event. So I do disagree with it being a non-event. And the reason why I disagree with it being a non-event is it changes the conversation for Arsenal. They can focus far more heavily upon negotiating with the club as opposed to having to spend their time between negotiating with the player and the club. And in fact, how much time do you want to spend negotiating with the club before you've agreed personal terms? Because you could get to a deal with Leipzig and then the player says, I'm not joining. And then you have just wasted your time. So it's very important in the process of buying players to get personal terms, at least to a point. And this is what I would say. Maybe this is where you've got to look at semantics. Some media outlets will say personal terms are agreed. Some will say personal terms are thought to be no problem, meaning there's a few details to iron out, but they'll be agreed. Broadly, they've already been agreed to. For me personally, because I just live in the real world where I'm not hiding behind semantics, I look at them all as the player has made his choice clear where he wants to go and play. Late to the show, any news regarding incomings for us? Adele, you're a United fan, right? So there was an update I wanted to speak about today, which is Jadon Sancho, because I was thinking about this last night. Who are the 3 most important players for Man United to sell? And I get Onana is on the list for people, but I view that more as it's important for us to get a new goalkeeper. We might loan Onana out, or he might be the backup goalkeeper for a season. If we bought if we bought Martinez, I'm fairly comfortable with. I'm fairly comfortable with. Don't remember his name now. Onana being on the bench. His salary is higher, but manageable. The 3 most important players for us to get rid of this summer, the most important, is because they're not part of the plans and they're on massive wages, like gargantuan wages. And that is Jadon Sancho, it's Anthony, it's Marcus Rashford. I think collectively they earn £700,000 to £800,000 a week. And those wages are needed for the number 9 that we want to buy, the midfielder that we want to buy, and the goalkeeper that we want to buy. So this news this morning that I was reading, we know that the Saudi clubs are interested in Jadon Sancho, which is very, very important indeed. What we also have been told today is that a number of Serie A clubs, one of which being Napoli, another being AC Milan, Juve still holding a long-standing interest in Sancho as well, have also thrown their hat into the ring. And what's very interesting is Man United are actually, according to a report, and this hasn't been confirmed as of yet, but I'm hoping that it's true, is that Man United also have a potential option to extend his contract into the 26-27 season. And essentially what Manchester United are saying is, look, let's not play silly buggers and try and get him on a free loan where we cover most of his wages so you can sign him for free next summer. We can extend the contract. So let's have a sensible, a grown-up conversation. Let's have a grown-up and a sensible conversation whereby we can come to an amicable agreement where to sell him now. Man United would prefer to sell Jadon Sancho this summer. It would save us a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of nonsense going on to go, right, let's agree a £20 million fee. Let's get it done. You pick up whatever his wages are going to be and we move on. So the crazy part about it is that I get clubs they also want to save money, and they want to, well, if we get him on loan for a year and only pay £100,000 a week, we can then sign him for free in the summer and we can then cover his wages. But United can reportedly extend the contract by another year. And I think United are using that in these negotiations. So Sancho leaving is really important. I'm really encouraged to see this news come out today. I hope it's true. I pray that it's true, because as I've already stated, I think it's imperative, absolutely imperative in every single which way that we move on from him this summer. It's so key indeed that we move on from him this summer. The same with Anthony, the same with Rashford. We really need to cash in on those players and extend that money elsewhere. So hopefully this news holds some truth. Spell here says, the more I read and see about Sesko, I think he fits more the style of Arsenal and helps the wingers to score more than Gyokeres right now, and I'm 50-50. What I always advise when it comes to scouting reports on players, my advice is always typically to say, find scouting reports before your club's heavily linked to a player. Because what can sometimes happen, and we all have a habit of doing this, is we look for the attributes that we think could fit, and then you can expand and grow on that. I think what's really key to look at is maybe a scouting report from 2 years ago, 18 months ago, before Arsenal were heavily linked, just to see what they say about the player, and then see if you can marry it up with your team. That all being said, I think Sesko would be an excellent signing for Arsenal. I'm not one of these people that thinks, oh, he only got 13 goals last year. What's he going to do in this Arsenal team? I think he could be a hit. He's got the physicality for the Premier League. When I watch him play, I always feel like he's in the right positions. He just doesn't get found as much. He's got a fantastic strike of the ball. And yes, you can look at him statistically and say, and I know Sam has done this and said the fundamentals aren't there. There's just something about him. And maybe it's bad analysis from me that I can't quantify it. But for me, I like his touch. I like the physicality that he has. I like the shape, the shapes. I like the moves that he makes. I'm talking about the movement in terms of position, the way he would drag away from a defender. You watch him when Leipzig are moving the ball towards the box, he will dart to the back post and then change direction to the front. He's got those predatory instincts in terms of movement. they're just really poor creators, Leipzig. And he'd be in the right place, but the ball would never really find him. So I do think there's a really solid player in there. A really solid player in there. And I'll make this prediction. I think if Arsenal sign him, I think he can hit 20 league goals this campaign for them. And I don't mean 20 league goals that he's taking away from other players. I think he can help Arsenal grow the amount of goals they score. I also think he has the ability, because we've seen him do it for Leipzig, he'll also score 5 or 6 goals a season that are just fantastic. Long-range efforts, efforts that you don't expect to be goals, but he'll rifle them into top corners, far corners. And that's also important for those really tough, close games that Arsenal predominantly drew last season. Arsenal drew so many games last year where they needed their number 9 to pick the ball up on the edge of the box, drop a shoulder, create half a yard, and bury it. I think he can do that. And Arsenal were just such a better team than Leipzig. I think you'll see him flourish more. I do think Gyokeres will score more. I think Gyokeres will score more goals in this Arsenal team. But that doesn't mean Sesko is a bad signing. And there is the other side of it. And I know that Arsenal fans don't want a player they have to develop. But I still think he's enough to move the needle for you. I think if Sesko was at Arsenal from January to the end of the season, that title race lasts longer. I think there's a fundamental chance they score. I think there's a great chance with Sesko in the team. They may not have been knocked out of the League Cup by Newcastle. I think with Sesko in the team, they knocked Man United out when we had 10 men in the FA Cup. The season would have looked different. Is he completely fully formed yet? No. I just don't think he's this bad signing that a percentage of Arsenal fans make him out to be. I think there's a really talented player in there. Man United end up with him because you guys get Gyokeres. I'm not crying. You won't see my energy change. Man United get him. I'll be very, very happy. Hi, Terry. I hope you're doing well. What is the situation regarding Gyokeres and his whole gentleman's agreement? Well, I mean, it's a really good question because I think it's one of these things where they say they've got written confirmation that it's 60 plus 10. It's all gone very quiet in that regard. I think what's now happening is Arsenal holding this whole market up. And I've been called out by Gooners. What do you mean we're holding the market up? Well, I'm really talking about it from a Man United perspective. We want Gyokeres, but we have other options. Gyokeres right now prefers Arsenal, but is open to Man United. But he's waiting for Arsenal to make their final decision or work out what they're actually going to do. Are they going to keep negotiating with Leipzig, or are they going to come in and take Gyokeres? I think that's what's slowing this down, personally. When you read all the different articles and stories, that's the most logical. That's the most obvious. And I think in this case, let's use Occam's razor. The most obvious answer is probably the most truthful. And it's Arsenal negotiating with Leipzig, because I do get the gut feeling that Sesko is their preferred target, but only marginally. I think they've got the deal for Gyokeres where they want it, where the player is committed. I believe they can get him for 60 plus 10 based on the stories we read over the course of the weekend. But Arsenal were just waiting. Where it might become precarious is in 10 days, 14 days. Arsenal haven't moved any deals on. Maybe Gyokeres has, has been spent time with his wife or girlfriend, family, and gone, do you know what? United are clucking for me. Maybe I'll go there instead. Now, I know this isn't a good example in terms of how he delivered for the club, but it's what happened with Lukaku to Man United back in 2017. Chelsea were his preference. They were leading the way. But over the course of the summer, United kept them phoning and talking and charming. Chelsea kind of started looking at other deals and other people. They stopped talking to him, and he changed his mind. Now, forget the end result of how the player delivered. We're talking about the situation within transfers. That could potentially happen as well, and that might force Arsenal's arm. But I think at the moment, Sesko is their number one priority, but it's marginal. Gyokeres is waiting, and we'll see how it all plays out. Why aren't United looking to sign Mignon? Because he wants to go to Chelsea. Just like with Gittins, he wants to go to Chelsea. Just like, why did nobody else try and sign Cunha? He only wanted Man United. Nobody else is going for Gyokeres. He only wants Liverpool. As soon as Wirtz said he only wants Liverpool, City and Bayern Munich pulled out. Nico Williams has said he wants Barca. Arsenal and Chelsea have pulled out. And this is what happens. So sometimes these stories play out in public for weeks and months. So you see the interest from everybody else, and then you see people call. Man United have probably made some kind of inquiry, been told only wants Chelsea if he leaves. So United just walk away. So that would be the reason. No, I meant any solid news of anyone coming in today after the release of the new fixtures. We needed players to come in. By the way, yes, a United fan. We need the Mbeumo and strikers and goalkeepers now. Look, I listen. A lot of United fans want the deals done now. They want them over the line instantly. I get the call for that. I get the want for that. I get the desire for it. I'm a little bit more relaxed personally. If we start, once preseason starts in what, 1, 2, 3.5, 4 weeks, if we fast forward 2 weeks and we've had no more movement, I'm going to start to get a little bit more frustrated. But right now, I'm relaxed. Would I like them today? Yes. I'd love a bomb to drop now, this second. And Mbeumo, here we go. The deal will happen. Tomorrow, boom. Martinez is coming in. Day after, bang. Mateta's the new United striker, or Ekitike is a new striker, or Gyokeres changed his mind. I'd love to have 4 or 5 players done and then spend the rest of the summer trying to sell people. I'd love that. It's not always as easy as that. Why? Because our main striker target is prioritizing another club, but may join us. So we're going to wait on that one. The Mbeumo deal, Brentford keep trying to up the price, and we're trying to save as much money as possible, which I've advocated for over 12 years for that behavior. I can't. That's why I suppose what it is, Adele. I've advocated for us being prudent and thrifty and making sure as best we can, and in most circumstances, that we don't overpay, we don't overspend on players. It's very hard for me to push that notion for the better part of 12 years, then to just say, fuck that, just buy the players now and pay top dollar. Because I think that fuck it, just pay top dollar approach is part of the reason we're in this mess. Now, what I do understand and what I do get is that it isn't just as simple as, well, let's just leave it until midway through preseason. We need 3 or 4 minimum players for preseason. So I get there is that moment in time where you think, maybe we've just got to pay the asking price now. But we have to win negotiations on a more regular basis, because in the longer term, if we overspend on average by £10 million per player and you're signing 4 players a summer, over 10 years, you are wasting £400 million. And if you're seen as a team that loses negotiations and you get bullied, you're then going to sell under value. And let's say you sell under value by £10 million. That's £5 million undervalue on average. So I'll be very conservative with it. Over a decade, that's 200 million. Collectively, you're £600 million in a hole. Now, not a hole you can see, because it won't show that. But in reality, we should have spent 300 to 400 million less and generated 150 to 300 million more in sales. That, by the way, would see us that would see us get nowhere near PSR problems, which means we could always improve the team. Or you could every now and then, you could be a great negotiator. Look at this. We're in a title race we didn't expect to be in. We really don't need to add. We need a better centre back. You know, our main guy's out injured for the season and the backups are not quite ready. Do you know what? January, we can break the bank and go and get, I don't fucking know, the new Bonucci, whoever it is, right? Do you get my point? So that's why I want us to be prudent, but it's a long-term thing for me. And so much of my personal decision-making in life is about the longer term. It's always about the longer term for me. You know, you might spend money on something today, but actually it saves you a lot of money over a longer period of time. And it's really cheap is expensive. This is the thing that I stand by this saying my dad taught me when I was younger. Cheap is expensive. And sometimes you can take the easy road, the cheap road. Just pay it. Let's get it done. Let's just make everybody happy. But you might not be happy with those decisions in 5-6 years' time when it bites us in the backside. It's the after effect, you know? Like the side effect of a drug. Terry, Man United, Arsenal, first game. Yeah, I mean, look, it's for me personally, because of all the stick I get about the Arsenal content, just because I praise them sometimes. It's like the Terry Flewers derby. That'll trigger some people. I think that's it. No, it's a shadow. It will be fun to have the Time Weird Derby again. Yeah, I can't wait for that game, Sean. That game I'm really, really, really excited about. Really, really excited about. I love that derby. One of the best games on the Premier League fixture list. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. It's absolutely fantastic. Look, people, we're going to be live later on today for you with Straight Facts. Very much looking forward to bringing that to you. Go check out my new channel. You can see the QR code there. Go give it a scan. Go check it out. Go and get yourself subscribing. In fact, we've had nearly 2,000 new subscribers in a couple of days, which is just mind-blowing to me. So I can't wait to see you all over there. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. This is going to redirect you to Judge Mo's channel as well. So go and support my brother over there. And we'll see. Oh, sorry, we had a super chat come in. Did I miss this? Sorry. Sorry, no, we've done this one. Already done this super chat, actually, from Dean. Listen, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again. 3:15 UK time. Peace.